What's happening, Warriors fans? It's your main man, Max, here from Warriors Latest. As always, like and subscribe. And now that we're into day 3 of free agency, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Dub Nation. I mean, now that free agency's really taken off, we've seen some of the suitors for Jonathan Kuminga start to blow up. And one of the suitors that really surprised me was overall what was the Sacramento Kings. Now, we look at the Kings, they're the little brother team of the Bay Area. You don't think of a Warrior trade with Sacramento very often, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it's not that bad of an idea. Let's look at a Jonathan Kuminga trade with them. It would involve Malik Monk and potentially even DeMar DeRozan. Now, the two of them together, I could definitely see them adding to the Warriors, and that's something to think about when it comes to any Jonathan Kuminga to the Kings trades, because right now the Kings are in a transition year. They just fired their coach who won Coach of the Year in 2023. They're looking to reform their identity and get a bit younger, and Jonathan Kuminga does just that. We look at DeMar DeRozan. He's an older player, but he fits into the Warriors timeline as being a bucket getter and a guy who has playoff experience. And we look at Malik Monk, a guy who can shoot very well from deep, as well as be that sixth man who comes off the bench and is that spark plug. And that's something the Warriors really need. I mean, Buddy Hield did it a little bit, but it wasn't that great to the point. And you think of just overall six men, the Warriors haven't had a really good sixth man since Andre Iguodala in 2015. And that's saying a lot because that year he won the MVP of the NBA Finals. So the role really does matter. I mean, another six man I can think of is David Lee, who's personally one of my favorite Warriors because he's just the guy that really got it done and turned the tides in that first championship in 2015. Now, while it's going to take time for the market to really, I guess, blow up for Kuminga, I think it's worth exploring more on just because the Kings have so many pieces to offer, and they don't really have an identity right now outside of, say, Dennis Schroeder or Zach LaVine and Domantas Sabonis. And I assure you they're not going to trade Domantas Sabonis, especially after trading Jonas Valanciunas for Dario Saric the other day. So that's just off the table. But a trade for Malik Monk and DeMar DeRozan is more plausible by the day just because they bring a lot to the table in terms of scoring, in terms of veteran leadership, and in terms of just being that right guy who wants to play the best together and be part of a championship team. Now, aside from that new suitor for Jonathan Kuminga, one of the other things that I really like that I'm hearing now is that Kuminga might sign a short-term deal. And what does a short-term deal look like? Okay, short-term deal. It's not something you would think as, oh, let's sign the qualifying offer and see where that goes. It's more like, all right, let's sign a 2-year deal and then just see if that works out overall. And say it doesn't work out, okay, come the trade deadline, you can move his contract for something that's more plausible, say like, I don't know, some player that's disgruntled with his current team and wants to get traded who has a lot more years. And Kuminga, being a young player with a large contract, is something that can work. As I would put it, you want to give him a balloon type contract because that's going to allow the Warriors to trade for somebody down the road instead of having to do sign and trade and be restricted by those scenarios, since the Warriors can only take back salary equal to half of the player that's being signed and traded out. And that I didn't realize before. So that's a very big thing for the Warriors in any sign and trade scenario, because they're going to say they sign Kuminga for $40 million. They can only bring a guy back in who's making $20 million. And in the modern NBA, not many great players are only making $20 million. So that's a problem in the long term. Maybe you sign them, wait for a bit, and then trade them beginning of the season. But it's that short-term deal, and that overall works out. And that's something I personally like. So it's something to look at, something to think about, and I hope the Warriors, worst case scenario, they just resort to that. Because Kuminga, he's got all-star talent, but he's just not a fit with this current Warriors team. And I just want to see him do well overall because he really did step up in that Timberwolves series, and that's something to take notice of. Remember, he had an inconsistent role playing a ton of different positions. Then, when he was allowed to do free form versus the Wolves, he broke out, and that's great. But it is what it is, and it remains to be seen if they are going to resort to that. Say maybe trade him a few months down the line, but we'll see. But most importantly, what happens today is that DeAndre Ayton cleared waivers. And as I've said before, the Warriors need a guy who can man the middle, get 10 plus rebounds, score a little bit, and be that, I guess, third option. The only issue is, several issues, is one, he's not the only, the Warriors aren't the only team that are looking to bring in DeAndre. The Lakers, if they get desperate, are looking to bring him in. And now that the Pacers are no longer the team of Miles Turner, they're looking to bring him in as well. And that could create real competition where it may price the Warriors out. Granted, the Pacers and the Lakers don't have they have the same cap situation that the Warriors have. So it's all going to be based on situation for DeAndre. But the biggest red flag that I've seen so far have been some of the articles that have come out regarding the issues that Ayton had in Portland. Stuff with like lack of hustle, missing team meetings, being late to practices, throwing a chair when it's being subbed out for, say, Donovan Clingan. I mean, those are red flags in my book, but because he's as good as he is and as young as he is, it's still worth a flyer because he can get the job done in the post and match up with some of those bigs that you really need. And you never know. He's still young. He was a one-and-done player and not part of a lot of great organizations. Say you bring him into a great organization, he becomes a valued piece of the offense, like the Warriors. I wouldn't say the Lakers are the best situation for him, or the Pacers, just because the Pacers aren't going to make any noise next season thanks to Halliburton's injury, and the Lakers are in a transition period. They want to get rid of LeBron, but they don't want to say it outright. And I'm not sure if they're going to be that number 3 seed that they were this year, especially after they got bounced by the Timberwolves, much like the Warriors did. So there's a lot of things that need to be changed overall with those 3 teams. But the Warriors are still his best chance at winning an NBA title. And I think the Warriors need to do at least something to go after him. Even though they do like Al Horford still is 39 years old and only 6'10". He is a stretch big who can hit it from downtown better than Ayton, but he's still 39. That 39 is a bigger red flag than Ayton's motor issues, because God knows, say Horford goes down with a injury, his career is over. And that is a problem for the Warriors championship window. You bring in a guy like Ayton, he's injured, he'll be back up in a few weeks. And that's the advantage of having him, even with his questionable motor. But bottom line is the Warriors need to start making those precise, even if they're small moves now. We've seen the flurry of the first 3 days of free agency, but I'm not liking the Warriors just standing pat, not even making a little move, or just, even if it was bringing in like Al Horford, bringing him in, signing him to the quick deal, just getting that done to show the fans that, all right, we're not sticking to the same formula. We're not just going to let everybody walk and not do anything and just stand pat. We are going to actually make changes in the right directions and do things that help the team. So doing things like bringing in Al Horford, maybe signing some of those minimum guys that will fill out the bench, or even making a small trade to improve the roster, is what the Warriors need to do right now. They need to show some sort of effort that they actually care about changing and they're not just going through the motions. Yes, I understand it's like you got to be patient, but even the small moves require precision and a little bit of just jump the gun at them, because they're not going to cost you a lot when it comes to salary cap. Like I said, any minimum deal, say they bring in a two-way player, isn't going to cost the Warriors anything. It's not going to cost them their mid-level exception. It's not going to prevent them from signing other players or trading for other players in the offseason. But they need to make those moves now. They need to find ways to move I guess guys like Pods, guys like Moody, who don't fit the system perfectly because they're undersized and they don't fit that current championship window. Because those guys, they had a great season last year. They just don't fit with where the Warriors are going right now. And for me as a fan, I want to at least see some changes, an acknowledgement that hey, we did well last year. Now we have to make a few more adjustments to continue to get better over the summer. Because Summer League's coming up. We are now in July. Summer Week's only a few weeks away. We want to build up those young guys, say like bringing in the Brandon Boston Juniors or bringing in Amani Bates, have them play Summer League for the Warriors, and then hey, maybe sign them at the end of the Summer League to either two-way contracts or non-guaranteed contracts. But not doing anything right now is really having me biting my nails and having me extremely nervous. So Warriors, it's time to make some moves and get the job done. And as always, I'm your main man, Max, and for Warriors Latest, go Dubs.